On this episode of EcoSense,
we stand to lose our biodiversity, and that's critical for, sustaining life on this planet.
And then it's not just elk and big game, but it's river otters, it's songbirds, everything that states manage for the public benefit.
They have less levels of inflammation, which means that they have less risk of heart disease, less risk of age-associated changes.
what if we could prove that some of the most effective medicine that we have has been with us all along? And what if that proof came from one local experiment dubbed the Green Heart Project?
Well, it started with the realization that much of heart disease could be linked to exposure to air pollution. There is so much disease burden because of exposure to traffic and from factories.
We have the fastest warming city documented in the United States. Louisville is kind of a bowl, and so during the summer we get a lot of air pollution, and it just kind of camps out over Louisville.
That we thought maybe one thing we could do is to increase the number of trees in a neighborhood and see what happens.
Why trees? What's the benefit to people's health?
Trees filter the air, literally making the oxygen we need to breathe, which was the major element of the projects. In that filtration of the air we're breathing, is there a correlated health impact on our heart health, cardiovascular disease, diabetes, and obesity?
We have this detailed map of where the pollutants are. We wanted to see where the levels of pollution were highest, and we selectively targeted our trees to those areas.
So for 18 months, we monitored the environmental conditions, noise monitoring, air temperature monitoring, air pollution monitoring, traffic counts on major roads, and we even flew with fixed-wing aircraft at a high elevation and took scans of all of the trees. So we know every single tree that's in the community and the biomass of the tree and the species. So it was important to understand all of those conditions environmentally before we then came in and made the changes, the planting of all of the new trees.
And how did you pick this specific location to plant the trees?
We surveyed 50 different neighborhoods in Louisville, and there were certain criteria that we thought the neighborhood should meet. One of that was it should be low to middle income. We wanted a neighborhood that was transected by a freeway, where there was a mixed population. So we had black residents and white residents living together. And then finally, we wanted a neighborhood that was dense enough. So we have here within like 3 miles, about 25,000 people living in this area.
We started by sitting in the community for actually about 18 months, knocking on doors, sitting on front porches, attending community meetings. We needed to deeply understand the baseline of health of the community, the stress, the cardiovascular health, and the well-being of the community, the attitudes and perceptions about nature and their neighborhood and how much time they spend outdoors and their perception of safety.
We talked to the community and said, would it be okay if you planted trees in your neighborhood? Would you like that? And they said, well, that's one of our set of ambitions for our neighborhood, that the more greenness we have, the better the neighborhood would be. So we got their permission to do this. Then we organized what we call in-person exams. We measured their blood and urine and their saliva levels, and we can test them to look at their blood pressure, their heart rate. So in the first pass, we did about 800 people in in-person exams. And we've been doing that every year since then, so that we would have a continuous track of what's happening to the health of the people in the neighborhood.
We go to a facility and have lots of different measurements taken to look at different things like our lung capacity, our blood markers like triglycerides, cholesterol, things like that. My total cholesterol decreased over the life of the study. Correlation doesn't mean causation, but I think looking broadly at the study as a whole is showing that that's happening across lots of different people, different stages of life.
What have you seen from where you started planning to today and people's health?
It's remarkable. It essentially relates to about a reduction of 10% of heart attacks to the population of folks that live within a close proximity to the trees that we planted.
So tell me, how did the community respond to this whole project?
We've done repeated surveys, and over 85–90% people say they love the trees being here, that nobody's ever paid attention to their neighborhood, and they tell me how excited they are to be part of this grand experiment, and that something like this has never been done anywhere else in the world, so they feel part of this something important.
And have you thought about climate change and planting the trees, what it does for that?
Yes. So I think the trees could be the most frontline defense against climate change, because trees not only improve human health, they improve the environment, they improve soil quality, they prevent stormwater runoff, they prevent soil erosion, they prevent urban heat from accumulating. So I think our learning would help us redeem the promise of greenness in combating climate change.
What was difficult about getting these big trees in here and
Right.
planting them?
We planted almost 8,000 mature trees, because if we had planted small trees, it would take 30 years for us to gather data. This park is just one place. We planted in hundreds of homes. We planted in businesses, churches, funeral homes, schools, right-of-ways, any place that we could get, we planted trees there because we need to have a high coverage. So what we have is a central area where we planted all the trees. We called it the target zone. Around that, we didn't plant any trees, that's the control zone. So we're comparing the health of people in the target zone and the control zone.
Did you go back and do all of the same medical workups on the people that you did at the beginning to see the difference?
Yes, we do the same battery of tests every year on these people. They have less levels of inflammation, which means that they have less risk of heart disease, less risk of age-associated changes.
So will this be a model for other projects like this around the country?
We certainly hope so. The idea that increasing greenness could improve the health of people in a neighborhood, I hope would permeate into other neighborhoods and other cities as well as other parts of the world. If we have this roadmap that we can offer to different cities, then I think that the project would be well worth it.
When New York calls, LA calls, Seattle calls, Washington, DC, and we have a story that's compelling and we have something to share that could help improve their cities, it's a large point of pride for us in Kentucky.
And we enjoy walking around more often because it looks more beautiful. We've gotten to know a lot of neighbors by name just by being outside and being able to see them walk safely in our neighborhood. So I do think it's created a sense of connection.
Nature unites us. Together, we've been able to do something remarkable and grow deep relationships that will go well into the future beyond any funding cycle or grant cycle to continue this work. These are lasting relationships.
We have a relationship with trees, and they are living things just as we are living things. And there is this sort of unbreakable bond between us and nature.